Throughout history, the urge has been strong to, upon recognizing your area of ignorance in the universe, to assign the handiwork of God to those ideas, to those phenomena. If you feel that way about prevailing ignorance, then you're actually in pretty good company. Isaac Newton did just that in his most famous work, Principia Mathematica. The translation from the Latin is The Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy. That's the full-up title of that book, published in 1687, in which he discovered the laws of motion, the universal law of gravitation, and in it, it represents the fruits of his effort for having discovered calculus to solve some of the problems that he engaged in. All right, so in this great work, he tries to understand the solar system as a total collection of objects. And he applies his universal law of gravitation. It calculates two bodies at a time, Earth and the Sun, Earth and the Moon, Earth and Mars. When you do this, the calculations come out just fine. But of course, the solar system is the sum of all the tugs that go on with all the planets. His attempt to do that with his two-body equations failed. What did his calculations show? That these multiple tugs on all the planets by all the other planets would render the solar system unstable and planets would fly out into interstellar space. Well, first of all, he knew that that wasn't happening and that his universal law of gravitation worked. So he concluded that divine providence must be at work. The hand of God is stepping in every now and then to correct things. Okay, well, a century would pass before the publication of a great work of mathematical physics by the French mathematician Pierre-Simon Marquis de Laplace. He came out with a 5-volume tome called Céleste Mécanique, Celestial Mechanics. This is at the turn of the century from the 1700s to the 1800s. A contemporary of Napoleon, by the way, but I'll get back to that in a moment. So, in this volume, he develops a new branch of mathematics that allows you to take one major source of gravity and a lot of other little sources of gravity. It's called perturbation theory. It is the exact kind of math necessary to calculate what the entire solar system is doing all at once. When he does this, he shows that the solar system is stable, contrary to what Isaac Newton attempted to show a century earlier. Napoleon summoned up this work, read it from cover to cover. Napoleon himself, he wasn't just a tyrant general. The guy read everything he could in physics and engineering, two major branches of study that help you win wars. He also calls in Laplace and said, "Sir, you make no mention of a designer of this system." That's direct reference to Isaac Newton's crediting the hand of God for fixing things. Laplace, in reply, said, "Sir, I had no need for that hypothesis." So there's a lesson in there. The lesson is we're always surrounded by ignorance on some level or another. If you're going to assign God to that ignorance and you lose your curiosity to investigate it, solutions elude you. Isaac Newton said God did it and stopped working on the problem. Laplace, whatever he thought of God, what is certain is that he saw it as a really cool problem that needed a solution. And so, as we go forward, I look at the problems that existed in the past that got solved. I look at the problems that surround us today on the frontier of the advance of science. I imagine we'll solve most of those. Some maybe we're not smart enough as a species to get there. And then, of course, there are the problems yet to be identified because they only show up after we've learned that much more about the universe to even ask such questions. That's what excites me. about the entire moving frontier of science.